the entire Christianity is based on this Trinity and the debate between who is what in relation to each other. So a priest has gone to China and he's teaching the message of Christ, Christianity message. And he explains to the Chinese guy, So after all this thing explaining there are three entities and there's three entities, only one God. So then after all this lecture is finished, he asked the first Chinese guy, so what do you think, how many gods are there? He said, three. So how come three? There's Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. So the priest mumbles that this guy, I explain all these things, he doesn't get it. So then he goes to the next guy. So how many gods? He says, two. So how did he get two now? He says, you told me there is a Father, there is a Spirit, and there is a Son. Now Son, they put it on the wooden plank and killed him. So the left is two now, Father and Spirit. So this guy says, this guy doesn't get it. So then he goes to the third guy and he says, so how many gods? He says, none, no God. So how come no God? He says, you told me there are three, but three is one, and that one was killed. So what is left is no God. So you get the dilemma of Trinity concept. So before we go to those slides, let me sort of go over the idea of three important caveats. Abrahamic religion in general, which is Christianity and Islam, you can add Jewish religion as well in the Abrahamic faith, because this part everybody came from Abraham. Manu is the original person in our mythology. Abraham is the original person in all the three religions of Middle East. So they have three things that are important for their purpose, which is exclusivity. When we talk about, like when we say one and only one Amitabh Bachchan, what we mean by that is that nobody else is like Amitabh Bachchan, right? That's what we mean. So when they talk about God, they talk in the same language. Okay, one and only one, that means only Christ and no one else. When Vedanta talks about one and only one, what it talks about is there is nothing else except God. So everything is the God. So there is only one God that includes everyone. And they say one and only one means it excludes everyone except Christ. So am I making sense? When we talk about one and only one, for their purpose, it is exclusionary concept. And Vedanta talks about one and only one. It's an inclusive concept, which says basically God is everything. There is nobody else except God. So that is the major difference. So their doctrine is called exclusionary doctrine. So they insist on no one else except Christ. That's one. Second one is conclusionary doctrine, which is called conclusivity. There is no such word as conclusivity, but conclusionary doctrine, which basically implies is that what was revealed through Christ is once and all for all final version. There is no Microsoft 10 and Microsoft 15. Once that was revealed 2000 years ago, that was an once and for all conclusion of what God ever wanted humanity to know. Hinduism and Eastern religions have a different concept. That is an ongoing revelation. So avatars will keep on coming, the saints and prophets will keep on coming, and they will reveal newer truth. So there is no conclusive doctrine. That's second part, which is different. Now, Islam and Christianity, what Islam accepts Christ as prophet, not as a God, But what Islam claims is that what was not said 2000 years back was eventually revealed finally 600 years later in 6th century to Prophet Muhammad. So that is a conclusive doctrine. Am I making sense? So they do accept Abrahamic. Yeah, go ahead. Your voice is not there.
What exactly prophet means? Like meaning.
Prophet means saint. Somebody that was divinely inspired. Like Muhammad is a prophet who was divinely inspired by Allah. And was, yeah, go ahead.
No, તમે પેલું મને પ્રોફેટ નું મોહમ્મદ નું સમજ પડી પણ તમે જે હિન્દુ વર્સિસ ક્રિશ્ચિયાનિટી નું કહ્યું ને હમણાં
Right.
I think can you explain little different way?
Right. કે દાખલા તરીકે ours is an ongoing revelation. So what was revealed to Shankaracharya, to Madhavacharya, to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, to RMK, to Arvindo, to Raman Maharshi, it's an ongoing revelation. So there is nothing final conclusion. It is a constantly evolving phenomenon of the truth that was revealed to rishis in Upanishad will be continuously changed and revealed newer, will be renewed over the ages. So there is no such thing as a finality. So that is second part. And the third one is called separativity. That means you cannot be a Christian Muslim, or you cannot be a Muslim Christian. Either you are A or you are B.
Right.
But you cannot be A and B simultaneously.
Yes.
And either you follow Christianity or follow Muslim and.
Right, basically.
Okay.
In Hinduism, it's not so.
Dinesh bhai has a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
So this is one of the reasons why Hinduism is a lot more confusing, because every time somebody reveals something new, people run after him and so I follow this. Then 200 years later, Shankaracharya comes and says, no, it's only Advaita. So people follow that. Then somebody XYZ comes in and says, no, it's Dvaita and it's Vaishnava. So there are so many because everybody has their own opinion or their own revelation and they try to preach that to the crowd. So crowd gets confused because which one to follow? While in Christian and Muslim, there is only one. Jesus, there is no other Jesus, or Muhammad, there is no other Muhammad. You follow that.
Right. Well, the interpretation is different, and the saints that we are talking about, Ramanujacharya or Shankaracharya, it is his interpretation of what the revelations was. It is not a newer revelation per se. It is how he interprets the revelation. And second part, the newer revelation that we are talking about are like something that Raman Maharshi mentions or Arvindo mentions or RMK mentions. They were, Shankaracharya and Ramanujacharya and Madhavacharya were systemizers. So they created a system based on the original revelation. They didn't invent something. They didn't come with a new revelation. So that will be a difference. Same way in Christianity also, the interpretation is the Pope's interpretation is the constantly evolving phenomenon. Pope will say in like Christianity, Catholicism, St. Peter was designated to be the main disciple. So his interpretation of what Christ meant. Now what Pope will do, the next generation of popes will do is interpret the Christianity doctrine over the ages. But it's not the new revelation per se. What was revealed to Christ is being interpreted because it was revealed in an era 2000 years ago, and Christ talked in a language that is gone. Christ talked in a language called Aramaic, which doesn't exist anymore.
Yep.
So the interpretation of what Christ may have said, so it's basically trying to explain it to different people in different languages as to what the original revelation was.
So like Hinduism, is a Sanskrit.
Right. So I'll come to the languages down the road. But so basically, it is a question of original revelation's interpretation, not newer revelation.
But so then in Christianity, you have Catholicism, Catholics, Protestant, Phalana, Dhikana, there are many, just like we have in Hinduism, they have different paths under the umbrella of
Yeah,
Christianity.
we are going to be talking about some of those things, how they are, each one is different, how they interpret different ways, So we'll come to those points. But the point I'm making is basically is that the avatar concept is an ongoing revelation that will be passed on generation to generation. It is a newer revelation, not a reinterpretation of original statements. That is the difference.
But so then what is in Hinduism? Can you explain in Hinduism, what is the new revelation?
Okay. New revelation will be, like example will be relationship of Brahman to universe. How one interprets that idea. And also I'll come, let me think about how I explain, but let me go to the next one and then I'll think about it and give an answer. Anil, you can teach anytime. Let me
What is a New Testament? Is that not new revelation in Christianity?
Wait for all those things to come. These are the next, these are the things we are going to talk about.
Slides. If you have seen the slides, it's all what you are asking. It's in the slide.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I have explained many of these things. Yeah. Go ahead. Anil Bhai was saying something.
Well, I was the interpretation, Dinesh Bhai's question. How do you interpret new things? For example, take Kashmiri Shaivism. What they added was, there was a Brahman concept was already there. They added the Shakti concept. And it's like in today's world, if you think, you have this intelligence, information, but then there is an energy too, right? The energy concept comes later on. So if you look at the Shiv Shakti thing, is the information and energy, two items. That energy concept, those things were added in the 900, Sankaracharya's thinking was one way. The same concept, it is the same Advaitavada. It is the same Advait thing, but it is expanded differently. And now the problem is in Hinduism, how do you explain one to many? There is this one thing we call Brahman. There is the one source from which the world originated. All religion basically rely on this theory of how did we come about and where are we going? Everybody has the same question. Where did I come from? Where am I going? Whether you take it afterlife, this, that, whatnot. So the interpretation of one to many, is different. With Shankaracharya, there is one way. It's called Abhaswad. But even in that Abhaswad, there are three different versions. What kind of Abhas? Same way in Shaivism, they will also say Abhaswad. Shankaracharya is, of course, calls it a Vivartavad. But basically, not going into the name differences, the difference is one to many. How do you explain one to many? So I think that's all I know about it. I don't know about Christianity, how that explains one to many.
I was thinking about something and it just slipped by my mind in reference to the question you raised. It'll come back to me. Let's move on.
It came back.
Yeah, it will come back to me eventually.
That's so good. I saw all the slides. Most of the slides.
The other part is most of the religions are based on people coalescing around a specific theological concept. So, like Christianity, what the Christ taught is the concept people gather together around Christ teaching. Same way, Muhammad taught whatever he taught, people gather around and created a religion called Islam. Hinduism is not that way. Hinduism coalesced around a region of the world where people believed in different concepts. So Hinduism, as we define now, is not a coalition of people around a theological concept. It is a conglomerate of people who came together in one region and that all the belief system that they had was lumped together as Hinduism. So it was not one idea. By Krishna Bhagavan has શીખવાડ્યું that we are following Krishna Bhagavan it is શીખવાડ્યું. Everything that people learned, believed in Shaivite school, Krishnite school, everything that was taught in the name of religion or in the name of theology came together as an umbrella organization called Hinduism, all called Sanatana Dharma originally. Hinduism was a name that was given to us by Britishers. So Sanatana Dharma is not people gathering together around one idea. It is around people gathering around in a region with different belief systems, and everything were lumped together called Hinduism. So that's a basic difference. So we do not follow a specific theology. Dharma tradition doesn't follow a specific theology. Dharma tradition has many, many theologies, starting from Keval Advait to Dvait and everything in between, Shaivite school and Ganpati school and Shakti school. You can name everything, Lingayata school. So essentially everything that was there together is called Hinduism. So when somebody asks us a question, what does Hinduism believe? Hinduism believes in complete polytheism. Polytheism, that means there are thousands of gods. To complete monism, that there is no God except me. And everything in between is part of Hinduism. So that is the difference between Abrahamic faith and what we believe in general. So Buddhism will be like whatever Buddha taught. People believed however Buddha taught. Or Jainism will be like what Mahavir and Tirthankars taught. Hinduism is not like that. So that's a basic difference. So we'll come to that point. But now let's go back to Christianity. So why do we need to learn about Christianity? Or what is importance? First of all, about 35% of the population around the world believe in some Christian doctrine, or they identify themselves to be Christian, which is the major religion. Number 2 will be Islam, and number 3 will be Hinduism. So roughly speaking, the breakdown, depending upon what statistics you look at, is about 35% Christian, about 25% or so Islam, about 15 to 17% will be Hindu, and then remaining ones, smaller numbers. Buddhism at about 6 to 7%, and then you add every other religion you can think of. So that's how it is broken down. Second part, in the country that we live in, 2/3 of the people identify themselves to be Christian, roughly speaking. Different denomination, but overall in the umbrella of Christianity per se. Approximately 3% of Indian population is of Christian origin. So when you talk about 3% of 1.3 billion, that comes to 40 million people. And 40 million people is the entire California. So it's a big number to begin with. Christianity very likely came to India some 2,000 years ago as per St. Thomas. Original breakdown of Christianity happened around 2nd century, maybe 3rd century, before Nicene Creed. I'll come to that. Some of those came to India. St. Thomas is the one that appears to be the pioneer. If you read regular news, there you will listen about Syrian Coptics, Syrian Christians. They are called Coptics. Lebanese Christian, they are called Coptics. So that was the first break of Christianity. Coptic religion, Islam. Egypt में तूफान था हुआ है. If you remember, Egypt में मुसलमानों ने church बाहर रखा. They are all Coptics.
Right.
So when Christianity first bifurcated, the first branch was Coptic religion, which they claim is the original Christian religion, or at least that's how they perceive. So Syrian Christian, Lebanese Christian, Egyptian Christian, and some of them migrated to India, and they migrated to Kerala and Tamil Nadu and around the coastal areas. So Christianity did come in some form around 2nd century or so to India.
So Christianity formed in 2020. 2020, right? Right after Christ
Yeah,
death,
2000 years ago, right? Yeah.
right? So after that, in 20 years, the Christianity came into India.
No. I mean, second century. See, Christ, we are talking about 2020 right now. So second
Right.
century of Christ.
Oh, second century. Okay.
Right.
He's reading 2000.
So I'm just making 2000 as like a rough number. Not
All
necessarily.
right.
It's like
Okay.
1900s and number is
Yeah,
the
yeah.
correct. Yeah. So, okay. So last part. Mahatma Gandhi was significantly influenced by Christ and Sermon on the Mount. And he writes, Sermon on the Mount goes straight into my heart. You know, what Gandhi taught about other cheek is a direct citation from Christ,
Christ.
Sermon on the Mount.
That is
Okay?
correct.
Okay. If somebody hits you on one cheek, offer your second cheek. You know, that statement is originally from Sermon on Mount, which is a Christ teaching, apparently, supposedly must have been said on a mountain top. You know, that's how it is presented. Who knows whether it was mountain or not? But point is, it is a Christian teaching. Jesus Christ is teaching. That's the point. You know, if somebody
એટલે શું કે એક ગાલ પર
Non-violence.
તમે બીજો ગાલ.
non-violence, basically not hit back.
Okay.
You know, if somebody hits you, don't go and hit back. You know, take
Eye
it on
for
the
an
chin.
eye and stone for stone. Yeah.
Right. Okay. I'll come to some of those ideas down the road. Okay. Non-violent struggle of Indian freedom movement has roots in teachings of two religion, Jainism and Christianity. Jainism, remember Raichan, you know, how in his informative years he learned about Jainism and learned from Raichan in the Natak Guru's Guru. You know,
બરાબર.
Srimad Rajchandra.
Srimad right. Okay. So that teaching came from Jainism, and Gandhi absorbed that. And in the South African struggle, he learned about Christ. You know, during this time, he basically imbibed the idea of non-violence. So,
Right.
I mean, so those ideas were primarily driven by two religions, Christianity, or at least Jesus Christ, really, not churchianity. He differentiated something like what church teaches and what Christ teaches are not same. So somebody coined the word Christianity and churchianity are different. Church taught by church is a different religion than compared to what was taught by Christ.
Yes, yes.
So that's how he differentiated. So let's move on to the next one.
આપણે આપણા જેવું કે ભગવાન જુદું કે ને આ મંદિરો
Mandir, right, exactly right. Yeah. Okay. Basic facts about Christianity. Christianity is an Abrahamic monotheistic religion. We already know about that. Based on life and teaching of Jesus. Christians believe that Jesus is the Christ whose coming as Messiah was prophesied in Hebrew Bible. Now we'll come to the Hebrew Bible and whatnot. But that's original statement in Jewish tradition. Hebrew was the language of Jewish people.
Yeah.
That was a prediction, a prophecy of Christ will come. You know, that is how in the Hebrew Bible. That is called Old Testament. Since you asked a question about oldness, and it's chronicled in the New Testament. So there are two basic groups of scriptures called Old Testament and New Testament, and we'll differentiate those two. But basically, idea is that the prophecy of Christ will come was there in the Old Testament, and New Testament describes what Christ did and what Christ taught. Okay. It is world's largest religion. We talked about 2.4 billion people in 2020, roughly speaking. Christians make up the majority of population in 157 countries and territories together. So it is clearly a big number. All right, let's move on. Okay, history. The first, now this is a question that you asked, Rajni Bhai. I cannot see Dinesh Bhai. So Dinesh Bhai, if you need to talk about something, just say it because I cannot see you.
Okay.
When I see myself, I can see Dinesh Bhai, but if I remove myself, Dinesh Bhai goes under too.
That is Christianity.
આમાં યાર
The problem is
દિલેશ ભાઈ ચર્ચમાં માસ્ક લેવા માસ્ક નો ટાઈમ છે ગયા
the problem is when there are slides on the screen, there are limitations in terms
For
of how
5
many
people only, the
screens
5
could be.
calls.
Dinesh bhai is taking
iPad
wine and bread.
Four frames. If it's a laptop, there might be as many as 6. So that's because we are showing the slides.
Yeah.
Right, right.
Yeah. એટલા
Okay,
માટે.
that's, I mean, as long as, since
Rajan
I
bhai,
cannot see you, I just want to make sure. Yeah,
Rajan bhai, there is an arrow. If you click the arrow, it goes up and down so you can see more.
yeah, that is right. I mean, I periodically click on that, but then I lose some other people. Yeah,
Right.
yeah. So let me let me go forward. The first church organized approximately 50 days after Jesus' death on the day of Pentecost, when the Holy Spirit was said to descend into Jesus' followers. So when you talk about, remember, the Good Friday and the Easter day, Good Friday is a Friday and Sunday is the day Easter. So idea is that Jesus Christ died on Friday, got resurrected on Sunday, and 7 weeks from that, 7 Sundays from that is called Pentecostal Day. And the mythology is that the Christ teaching came back on the day of Pentecostal, which is 50 days from the Easter day, 7th Sunday after Easter Sunday, when that's where the religion of Christianity was organized around the Christ teaching. And when we talk about Christ, Christianity origin, that's the origin. 50 days after his death. So what we are talking about now is 2000 years after that.
So Friday Jesus Christ ગયા અને Sunday પાછા આવ્યા. So then he didn't teach the Christianity and the 49 days, 7 Sundays waited and then.
No. He already, it was what he said during his lifetime was organized as a religion by his followers meeting together, saying what Christ taught is the conglomeration at the time, 7 weeks from now. So the official organization of Christ or Christianity was formed after 7 weeks or 50 days. Yeah.
So
roughly
after
speaking.
Rajan bhai, 50 days after he's passed away in December, like Christmas time.
No. Christmas was his day of birth, or at least that is what is believed to be.
Oh, I see. But the Good Friday is the day he was.
Is the day of death.
April. But April
તો એ લોકો જે 40 days નું કરે છે એ શું છે same time માં? They do my friend.
That's a Lent.
That's Lent. Yeah.
What is Lent?
Yeah, Lent. So that is not connected with any of this.
No.
I'm not aware of it, what exactly the significance of that. I haven't read it.
Okay.
Lent is a Catholic ceremony.
Generally, they give up
Something.
meat.
No, they don't eat red meat,
Right.
only the fish. They eat only fish.
Fish,
And then they give up 1 મહિનાનું આપણે બાધા લઈએ ને એવી બાધા લે ચોકલેટ નહીં ખાવાની કે આ નહીં ખાવાનું કે એ ટાઈપનું. That's what I learned through over the period.
I heard about it, but I don't know the significance of that.
No, one of my friend is a Christian, so she always does this 40 days Lent. એટલે મને એટલી ખબર છે, but I don't know the detail what they do it.
It is
Like ઇલાબેને કીધું એમ બાધા
Yeah, basically it is the month of completely observance of this. So they don't
40
do.
days, not
Yeah,
month.
40 days. Okay.
Okay. All right, let's move on. Most of the first Christians were Jewish converts. Remember, Christianity preceded like Buddhism was original Hinduism. So Hindus became Buddhist. Same way, Jewish people, Christ himself was Jew. So they changed the religion around Christ, just like Hindus coalesced around Buddha and became Buddhist. Same thing happened to Jews. So many Jews converted to being follower of Christ, and they were called Christians going forward. Shortly after the creation of the church, many Gentiles, non-Jews, embraced Christianity. When you listen to the politicians, you will hear the phrase Jews and Gentile. That is how politicians use the word. Gentiles were not original Jews who were converted to Christianity. So when American politicians refers to people, they say Jews and Gentiles together in America. So what he's talking about, the Christians, original Jews as well as non-Christian, non-Jews became Christian. These are the people that came to America. Okay. Apostle Paul, he was the one of the pioneering person, one of the most important missionaries calling the spread of gospel, and we'll come to gospel down the road. Apparently the story goes that he was on a horse, or was it on a camel or something, and in the desert he has a revelation of Christ, and Christ comes to him and reveals himself and teaches him all these things. So, and then gives him a message that now it's your duty to spread the gospel across the world. So that is the idea. Okay. So he established churches throughout the Roman Empire, Europe, Africa, and wrote 13 of the 27 books of New Testament. And we'll talk about those, New Testament.
Wait. So New Testament came out right after Christ through Paul?